And now we get shed
Now
by
you
our
get another one.
series.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up last time, to be honest. So obviously, when we recorded last month, it was windy as hell, and you saw me struggling with the door, keeping it closed.
It always took you out on one occasion.
I thought it was fucking Wizard of Oz at one point.
I expected to see flying monkeys pass a window.
I think we're the
that's
flying
gonna be at the
monkeys.
beginning. Oh, definitely. I've actually I haven't got a lock on the inside of the shed door, so I've actually just made a makeshift lock, so we should be okay now.
Oh, I hope your missus locks you in again.
Oh, I hope not. Hello and welcome to that 90s Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, James Sunstall, and today's pay-per-view review, we are reviewing the pre-show of this Tuesday in Texas. And joining me in reviewing this podcast from the mighty Badlands, we have both Mags and Mr. Paul Tolley. How you doing, lads?
I'm doing really well. I'm glad we've got to watch the Go Home show for this Tuesday in Texas.
Same here. I feel all the better for watching this show. It's good to be here.
Cool. And joining me once again, Mr. Rob. How you doing, Rob?
I feel dazed and confused. It's like I've been in a high pressure sales meeting. I think I'm going to have to buy a timeshare. It's like...
And joining us once again, Mr. Dan Griffin.
A year ago to the day when we're recording, me and Rob went to the longest wrestling show either of us have ever been to. NXT UK went to 4 weeks of TV and it felt like it went on for 15 years. This pay-per-view was longer than that.
Yeah.
And yet it was only 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It took me, I'm not lying, it took me 2 sittings to watch this. I had to watch half of it one night and the other half another night. And like you said, Mags, it's only a 2.5 hour show.
Oh, just the shat that was on it. It couldn't hold my attention. I was just having to like re-go over parts that I'd just like drifted away from. It was just so bad. This is a big 4 pay-per-view back then as well. One of WWF's marquee shows, and it was literally a go-home Raw for Tuesday night in Texas. It was no storylines. Everything was about, just make sure you tune in on Tuesday for the Tuesday night in Texas.
So for everyone who's still watching this review, we will be having a last review in it. So, Survivor Series 91, it was held at the Joe Louis Arena, Detroit, Michigan on November 27th in front of 17,500 fans. I feel so fucking sorry for them fans who paid. In the rest of the media world at the time, in the UK music charts, number 1 was Michael Jackson, Black and White. Top of the US charts was Michael Bolton.
I can't believe you haven't got the Michael Jackson Fulham link in there. You could have been ranting about Tony Khan for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, and top of the movie charts in the UK, it was Point Break. Great movie. And top of the US movie charts was The Addams Family.
Not so great film.
You're not a fan of The Addams Family?
It's all right. I think Addams Family Values is a better film.
Oh, what's the name of the psychopath? Debbie. He tries to manifest it.
They used to show the original Addams Family on Sky One on a Monday night just before Wrestling Challenge came on. So it was bumper programming for the wrestling.
And just been released on the Super Nintendo, we have Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So, which in a lot of people's opinions is probably the greatest Zelda game. I still personally think it's Ocarina of Time myself.
I was never a Nintendo person, so they all suck compared to Sonic.
So, to open the show off, no Vince McMahon intro this time. We get a cold open, really. We join Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, and it sends us straight away to a promo package of Jake Snake Roberts and the Macho Man, where Cobra bites Savage. What do you think to this promo?
Just what you want, a promo package for wrestlers that aren't on the card.
No, but they were pushing for Tuesday night in Texas, Paul. Do you not understand? This wasn't about the Survivor Series. This was about making sure you double dipped for that Tuesday pay-per-view.
Was this a pay-per-view? Was this a pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
bloody hell.
Yeah,
I think it was on a Thursday, though. The day, I'm sure it was a Thursday. So they basically double dipped for two pay-per-views in a week. The conniving little shits.
Well, you mentioned that the WrestleMania pay-per-view that sort of the buy rates were down, the economy was was suffering, so they sort of had this idea to try and get more buys. They knew they wouldn't on one, but let's try and screw the hardcore audience out of more money, which is, the model for wrestling today.
Yeah, so, and now it's the typical kind of YouTuber approach. I'm losing views, so I'll put out twice as much of the same shark content, and that's what WWE championed 20 odd years ago.
So are you implying to my channel, Mags?
Absolutely not. I think you put out quality content. Maybe some people in the same field do that, but certainly not you, sir.
The only thing I actually took away from this opening thing was I just sat there giggling because I think it was Vince said, "Look at him shaking his snake."
One thing I did spot in this promo was they kept doing the typical WWF cut to the crowd, and there was one kid who they focused on for ages, and he just could not give a toss. He was there watching a snake bite Macho Man, and he was like, "Come on, hurry up! Next thing happening." Yeah, he just was not interested one little bit.
Well, it's not
a toddler gumming on a teething ring, though, wasn't it? That snake. It was so bad. It was
leathery, very, very leathery snake. I mean, I know it's leather, but it was a very shiny, leathery snake.
It's not the biting that's the problem, though, because Vince McMahon said that the Macho Man had the snake's poison running through his veins, which means he must have eaten it. So it's not the snake biting him that's the problem.
Did you?
I never hear the word devenomized again. Fuck me.
Oh, I love how Jack Tunney pronounced it though. It is like a little build up.
Did you hear the story about that before? I'm speaking of devenomized. So the Macho Man's got a history of being paranoid, and he was so paranoid that the Cobra was venomous. So he actually had Jake Roberts have the Cobra bite him before they went out, just to prove it to him. That's how wound up he was. And I mean, it was, to be fair, like the spot what we saw, I personally think it was actually a good angle because actually seeing a legit Cobra biting onto someone, and that Cobra sunk his fangs and he did not want to let go. And can you imagine that happening these days?
Yeah, well, it is shocking.
That's why reptiles got banned. The reptiles were banned from ringside.
Well, that's why Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wasn't on this pay-per-view.
Well, that's why he was only allowed a Komodo dragon and not an actual real dragon.
This is why Jack Tunney had no control over the WWF, because he saw the snake as the bad guy in that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he instantly accepted Jake's apology, said, "Jake has said he didn't know, and I have to take him at face value. So for that, we'll reward him with a match against the person who he wants a match against."
Did you see Jack Tunney's desk, though? The only thing he had on it were highlighter pens and the WWF magazine.
That's all you need to be a president of WWF.
It's almost as if he's edited after it's already been sold.
He's going through it like a Bible and just highlighting his favourite passages.
Yeah. and ye the Lord said unto thee, you will bury Macho Man Ravage Savage.
Commandment number 7, all reptiles banned from ringside this Tuesday in fucking Texas.
So after the incident, so there was a petition for the Macho Man to come out of retirement, and it was declared. Unfortunately, a lot of the fans thought the Macho Man would be wrestling tonight. That isn't the issue. He's actually wrestling this Tuesday in Texas. And as for Jake Roberts, he was meant to be the captain of the main event Survivor Series team tonight. He's also not wrestling tonight because he's going to be wrestling the Macho Man at this Tuesday in Texas.
So make sure you pay for that pay-per-view if you want to watch the match that you actually bought this pay-per-view to watch. Classic.
What was the logic there? Because shitloads of the other wrestlers were wrestling double duty Wednesday, Tuesdays. Why did Jake have to pull out?
Well, I think one of the reasons for it, so the captain of the face team was actually going to be Sir Justice, but about 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, he actually got injured. So they teased it that it was going to be 4-on-3, and the face team of LOD and the Boss Man was going to have a partner there. And a lot of people was convinced it was going to be the Macho Man. And that's why they bought the pay-per-view. But then all this shit happened and decided, oh, fuck it, we've got their money now. We'll just make it a 3-on-3.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless Vince McMahon.
World's richest carny.
Oh, he's the best. I think New Jack said it best. He is the best. He's the greatest pimp in the world. That's exactly what he is.
Lita will certainly agree with that.
So, with that out the way, so we get to the first match of the night, and we've got the heel team of Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, the Mountie, the Warlord, and the debuting Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So they're facing off against the face team of Roddy Piper, Virgil, the British Bulldog, and Roddy Piper and Bret Hart. And as $1 Million Man's making his way out, you notice he's got his $1 million title back because a couple of weeks beforehand he defeated Virgil. And guess who helped him defeat Virgil, Mags?
The Repo Man.
Yay! Unfortunately, the Repo Man's not here tonight. But guess what?
He'll work on Tuesday.
We're seeing him this Tuesday in Texas. So the face team comes out. Bret Hart comes out to the big girly screen pop. Good for him. And the one thing I noticed, Bret Hart and the British Bulldog teamed up for the match. 5-year-old me would have been having a field day.
This was a really well put together match. Everyone in the match had some kind of rivalry against each other, even if they were just playing off that, Flair Piper rivalry from Jim Crockett, which is really weird for WWE to do. But everything else, the $1 Million Man and Virgil, you had Bulldog and Warlord that have been fighting all year, and Bret Hart and the Mountie were in a rivalry at the time. So this one match on the card kind of made sense.
Yeah.
How is it not the main event?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got thoughts on that for later on as to why it wasn't the main event. Because I've spent far longer than anybody ever should trying to put these matches into some sort of workable order. And it's impossible.
It's such a disjointed pay-per-view. It really, really is.
It's literally throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks.
And none of it stuck because the wall's laminate.
And it was liquid diarrhea.
One of my favourite moments.
James there trying to really tell everyone his favourite moment. We just
I will get it against the wall. No, the part I noticed was when Roddy Piper kissed Sherry, and Heenan said he's living dangerously, implying she's got some sort of disease.
Oh, that she'd just rightly kick him in the nudges.
The thing was, Piper sexually assaults Sherry, and then she gets sent to the back because it's 1991, and being
Andy
a woman in complaint is the problem.
Andy got cheered for it. That was something I noticed as well, that people were cheering actual sexual assault.
Well, but AEW did this last year with Dustin Rhodes and Jack. I always say Jake Swagger or Jack Swagger or whatever because I can never. Jake Hager's wife. It was bad enough in '91, but 2020, AEW, the most progressive promotion out there. Let's wheel this out again.
Yep.
Did anybody at the start of the match see the two dickheads in the front row, who like full grown, like 6 foot plus men, who decided to just stand up and start posing?
Yeah, I saw them a few times.
I'm pretty sure the one on the left was Tucker out of WWE's dad because he looks like Tucker ate Otis.
I think that one of those guys is actually in contention for my mullet of the event because he had a real mullet on him. And the one that annoyed the fuck out of me out of the crowd, and it's becoming a recurring theme now, the dickhead dressed as Hulk Hogan.
No, you've got to have a Hulk Hogan in the audience.
We'll save him for the Hogan match. Match.
He was acting like he was the one bullying the crowd up. Like, come on, crowd, cheer for me. I must pose.
Yeah, you've got to have a fake Hogan.
Given that pay-per-view, I don't blame the crowd for going into business for themselves and then themselves. You wouldn't want to watch the wrestling.
Yeah, but this was the point where we all still had hope.
Yeah. The first match of the night.
And we thought they were real.
The one part I did enjoy, and I mentioned this when I reviewed the previous year's Survivor Series, was when Bret and DiBiase was in the ring. The chemistry between them two, I wish they had like a long program between them, because the year beforehand, they was the final two of that Survivor Series match, and they had like 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes what they had was so good. And there's a few moments during this match where they was in the ring for 3 or 4 minutes at a time, and just so good, the two of them. It's one feud I wish happened, but yeah, it was quite good stuff. And what the first elimination of the night, Ric Flair does a diving knee onto the Bulldog. So I was surprised Bulldog was out first, not Virgil. I'll be honest.
Well, Flair didn't tag in, did he?
Sorry.
No.
He did the move off the top and then just took the pin, even though they tagged in. A lot of them didn't actually tag in this match, the baddies. But I actually enjoyed the Mountie. I thought he really played that cowardly heel perfectly, especially when we were getting Bret into the ring and he'd like running hard in the corner and like hug up to his teammates. I thought he played his part well. Piper was his exuberant self as always. But the thing I was most impressed with was the drop kick from Bulldog. That was a good drop kick for a bloke of his size.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. But going back to DiBiase, I thought he just ate everything in this match. He was bumping all over the shop. He really stood out to me in this match. Just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with you. And going back to watch this wrestling, especially with this show, you do have a massive appreciation for how good he was in the ring. Ted DiBiase he's so underrated. He's just he knew exactly how to play to a crowd. It was really, really talented wrestler.
Yep. And second elimination comes Bret Hart does a double X handle on the Warlord, and Roddy Piper makes the cover for the 1, 2, 3. So Warlord's gone. I think one of the things that does help trying to make the shows a bit better is Bobby Heenan, because all through the night he was like, woo! Just throwing these Ric Flair catchphrases all night. And end of the match comes basically, best way to explain it is just chaos in the ring. Everyone got into the ring, and minus Ric Flair got thrown out. And for some bizarre reason, the referee decided to DQ everyone in the ring except the one person who was outside the ring, which makes no sense at all. And Ric Flair is declared the sole survivor and the winner of the match.
Yeah, it was a terrible ending for what was a really good early 90s wrestling match. You can see why they did it. They wanted Ric Flair to be the huge deal, but why not just let all the other guys get pinned? Did we really need to protect Piper, Hart, Virgil, and Ted DiBiase and the Bounty? Could they not have just been pinned and Ric Flair wins it through skill rather than just being thrown over the top rope and just not being involved in the melee?
You never need to protect Virgil or the Mountie.
That's true.
Although I will say the Mountie, when he put that Boston Crab on Roddy Piper, that looked really bloody good. The way he properly wrenched him over and looked like he was laying it in. And that is the only good thing I will ever say about the Mountie.
Yeah, I did not think it was unique how he was going backwards though. Normally they kind of walk backwards. He was hopping backwards and letting Roddy get back to his corner.
I remember all the other heels fucked him off.
Yeah, that was a good spot. That was a good spot.
Yeah. No, thank you. Don't want to touch you.
The faces attack afterwards, and they celebrate in the ring afterwards. Fucking idiots. So next we see Mean Gene, and he's on the stage, and he gets joined by the Macho Man. Have a guess what he talks about?
This Tuesday in
This
Texas.
Wednesday in Waco. Oh shit, Waco.
You missed the bit where
I didn't even mean that.
you missed the bit where Bobby Heenan phones Mr. Perfect to find out what's happening with Ric Flair on a landline. As if they've laid cables for him all the way to the.
And he even wooed on the phone. Even in a pretend phone call, he still wooed. That is just commitment to the gimmick.
That was the one thing I forgot to
on the
mention.
other end of the phone talking on.
That was the one thing I forgot to bring up. What do you think to Mr. Perfect's tracksuit?
Oh, I want one. I mean, the guy was a good wrestler, cool, but that tracksuit was horrific.
It was like a walking migraine.
Yeah.
So, Miz and the Macho Man's talking to Mean Gene, hyping up this Tuesday in Texas. And not much to say about there. He did say he's going to be all over Jake, like all over melting butter.
Yeah.
I like how there was 97% of people voted to reinstate Macho Man. So who were the 3% of heartless bastards who didn't?
Smart
Roberts.
I bet they were early adopters of the internet, definitely.
Yeah.
You didn't hear
this interview
complaining about the count then, did you?
No.
This interview did just come across as comical though in Macho's accent.
And his hat.
It's like, I don't know if President Jack Tunney knows who the real snake is. It's you, Jake. Yeah, fuck it. That's his fucking name, you knob.
He kind of gives it away. I think the one thing about this interview that really did annoy me is they keep throwing to Elizabeth to do an impression of Macho Man, and she's shit at it. She cannot pull off a Macho Man voice, so stop letting her do it.
I love it. I think that makes it for me. I just want that half.
Oh yeah.
I want that half-assed Paul Bearer sounding impression at the end of every Macho promo from Liz. It just tickles the piss out of me. Well, nothing else on this show did.
This says everything about wrestling. One of the most over characters of that era was over for not being able to do an impression of a husband.
It's weird
and probably could wrestle better than half the wrestlers that were in the matches.
And people think technical wrestling matters. You know, that just says it all.
It's weird with Liz because she was so over, but she didn't really do much, did she? When you actually think about it, like for a manager, like I was watching a episode of Nitro, and like both her and woman Nancy Benoit was manager of Ric Flair at the time, and like Nancy would be like, banging on the ring, trying to get the fans to, chant along, clap along and that. And Liz is just standing there. And when you go for a career, that's all she pretty much done, but the fans just loved her anyway.
Credit to her though, minimum effort and maximum reward.
Oh yeah.
I respect that.
So we go to the next match, and I had to double check this to see which team were the faces, because we've got Jim Duggan, Matador, Tito Santana, and Tex Tornado, and they're teamed up with Sergeant Slaughter. What a fall from grace he's had within a couple of pay-per-views. And they're up against Colonel Mustafa, aka the Iron Sheik, Power by himself, there's no glory, Skinner, and the debut of the Berserker, Huss.
Who looks like if Will Ferrell played that silly fucker in the moose hat who stormed the Capitol building. Fuck me sideways, this match was torture.
Oh, it was horrid. It was really, really horrid.
I tried to watch it again just before we recorded. I wandered off. I didn't even realise I could do that sat in front of my telly. No.
As well planned as the last match was, this was just, pull some names out of a hat. It was like they'd hit the random selector button on 2K20 or something, and they'd just come up with 8 guys, and they had nothing to do with each other. And the worst thing was, they said that Jim Neidhart was supposed to be on the team, but he'd been beaten up by Ric Flair and the Beverly Brothers, who weren't even anything related to those two teams. It's like none of it made any sense.
Or in a feud with Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Or known for talking to each other, you know.
I think my favourite thing about the Berserker, it was on one of the super tapes, and I forgot who. I think he's tagging with like Papa Shango, and they're up against the Undertaker and the Ultimate Warrior. And there's a spot during the match. It's rather this match was a singles match. But there's a spot of the match where Undertaker's flat on his back, and the Berserker actually tries to impale him with the sword, and Taker moves. The sword actually goes into the ring canvas. It's awesome. You have to YouTube it.
Didn't he want to? Didn't he want to fight Undertaker in a Viking funeral match?
I think so. Yeah.
Does that like put him in a boat and push him out to sea?
On fire.
I loved what he's
on fire.
I loved what his finisher was. You know what the Berserker's finisher actually was?
Did he actually win it?
I honestly do not recall him ever winning a match.
His way of winning matches and his finisher was actually throwing people over the top rope and winning by count out. That was his finisher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine if he was in a title match. I mean, it'll come in handy in a couple of months' time at the Royal Rumble. But besides that,
did he win it? Did he win the Royal Rumble?
Well, spoilers. Spoilers.
The only good bit in this match was when Heenan was pissing about getting the name of the arena wrong, calling it the Jim Lewis Arena. I mean,
Jim Lewis
quite
Arena.
frankly, everybody in that arena would have been better going to fucking John Lewis.
And I think Gorilla says something like, "No, it's Joe Lewis," and he's like, "Who's that?" Like as if he don't know who Joe Lewis is.
What a hockey player he was.
Yeah.
And then they can use that just to gloss over all the racist bullshit he spouts at Tito Santana.
Oh my god, it was so racist. What they call a flying taco, a flying jalapeno,
still guacamole on his tights.
He
Jesus Christ.
He rang his bell, you know, like Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I love the vignettes they done because it showed you Tito Santana like training to be a bullfighter. He was training in Mexico and not in Spain, which I found funny.
Because this is the first. Is this the first pay-per-view he had as El Matador?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Because he'd come out not happy. He was not happy that this was his gimmick. He had a face like thunder coming out to the ring. You could tell this like Vince, you racist old bastard.
Yeah. Only Jim Duggan was happy to be in this match because I'm pretty sure even back then he was down to his last 5 brain cells.
He just got stoned before he come out. That's why.
With Iron Sheik.
He got the crowd chanting USA when the only non-American on either side were left at that point was Tito Santana on his team.
Yeah, but you could fart in the middle of the ring and they'd chant USA.
So how did Slaughter end up a face again?
He done some promos. Yeah, he done some promos like going around camps saying, "I want my country back." Sounds like a Trump supporter, to be honest. But
and he just got his rank back just like that.
It's stolen valor, so he didn't really need a rank anyway. He just says he was a sergeant.
Well, it's transferable anyway. He just transferred his rank to the Iraqi army and then transferred it back.
Yeah.
Then he just picked up an American flag and just went, "Soz."
Soz, yeah.
Pretty much it.
We get a lot of shots of the guy in the crowd with a suit and tie on and a WWE cap that doesn't fit him and the tiniest American flag known to man waving it around. He looked a bit of a pillock.
I saw like out at the top of a burger.
Yeah, pretty much.
I got so bored during this match, I actually Googled Berserker's career. I just went on Wikipedia to have a read through to see if there was anything interesting about him. And the only thing I found was it's mildly interesting. He was in a tag team in the Pacific Northwest Wrestling called the Breakfast Club, and their gimmick was when they won, they poured Cheerios and milk over their opponents. And quite frankly, I'd have rather have seen that.
That sounds like to be fair, that sounds like an AEW gimmick.
Or an OnlyFans gimmick.
It's a New Day gimmick, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where the
pretty
New
much.
Day have got booty off from watching old Berserker matches.
Well,
I don't know if that's true. It's canon now.
John
well,
Lord needs royalties.
while we're at it, I looked up Skinner, and apparently the Alligator Hunter was his idea.
I forgot about Skinner even when I was watching the match.
when he went in for his gimmick meeting with Vince, he just threw a load of alligator parts on his desk. I said, I don't know if you've got any ideas, but I've just caught 15 alligators, so can you do something with that?
It's weird because he was like a baby face, like around territories. He was part of the Fantastics, I think, or the Fabulous ones. I think it's the Fantastics, and he was like white meat baby face, blonde bleached hair and that. And he teamed up with I think it was Stan Lane. He actually teamed up with before Stan Lane joined Midnight Express, and like they done quite well. So it's weird to actually see him in this gimmick. If ever you've went back and watched old NWA stuff. As for the match, not much to say, as you can tell. I forgot who eliminated who actually. Slaughter pinned
It doesn't matter.
Tito,
This was a match that happened.
Slaughter eliminated Mustafa.
Yeah,
with a clothesline.
Sergeant pinned Skinner, Duggan pinned the Berserker. Clean sweep for the faces anyway. That's all I can say, but it was a fucking terrible match. It was painful.
One thing that did make me laugh, genuinely made me laugh, and there was one moment of entertainment, and it was Slaughter selling getting his head smashed into the turnbuckle by basically doing a Vader bomb.
Yeah.
That was amusing.
And next segment, we see Mean Gene's on stage, and he's joined by Jake the Snake with an interesting get-up, we should say.
Beautiful bit of knitwear. Beautiful bit of knitwear.
That jumper was horrible. Who
made it work?
Who
wasn't
comes
just a
up with jumper designs though like that? Because that looks like something you draw when you're pissed.
Didn't you think it went well with the leather trousers and the snakeskin boots?
I've always thought it's snakeskin boots on someone called Jake the Snake. Is that not like cannibalism?
Yeah. It's
wearing that sort of stuff though. Now though, couldn't you, with the get-ups he turns up in?
I can't wait to see that jumper on Dynamite.
He's probably still got it. It's in his regular collection.
His gear bag.
I've just been telling the lads before we jumped on, like I've just been watching Beyond the Mat, and the Jake the Snake segment comes on it. Man, it's so fucking depressing. So if you're interested, we'll do a watch along and take fun of his misery at the time. But yeah, it's good promo by Jake, and yeah, talks about this Tuesday in Texas.
Shock horror.
Of course,
at least this was a good promo.
It was a good promo, but I'm pretty sure he threatens to kill Elizabeth.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right.
It's very, very sickening. Doesn't Gene call him a sick man as well? And he says, thank you, like, as if he's really happy to be called a sick man.
Yeah.
And he does confirm that he is indeed the snake that they've been worried about all along. And then he goes a bit Steiner maths at the end. So it's not the end, it's not the beginning, it's not the beginning of the end, it's the end of the beginning, or some bullshit like that.
Dan, that's from one of Winston Churchill's most famous speeches after victory in Egypt.
Well, Winston Churchill talked bollocks, didn't he? It was nonsensical wankery.
Next up, we see the promo package for Taker and Hogan, the Gravest Challenge, and we see the what's it called? Is it the funeral parlor? And I absolutely love the setup of the funeral parlor. And I need to go back and watch more Superstars of Wrestling, whatever the show's called, because it looked really good. But we see the part where Ric Flair comes out and he just cuts an awesome promo on Hogan.
And he actually had the WCW belt here earlier. And in that match, it's the tag belt, and it's got a crappy oval black thing, but they had the proper video distorting on here.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love is there's a bit after the fight where Flair holds up both belts, and that's probably the last time that happens until Jericho in 2001,
2001, yeah.
Yeah.
The video distorting was not exactly good, though. There were plenty of times you caught a really good view of that belt, and they were distorting something else there. Yeah, I'd have fired Kevin Dunn if that was his handiwork back then. But yeah, the face-to-face promo was really, really good from Flair. And then Hogan rips off his shirt and tries to do a bit of a promo, and it's like, no, you can't hang with Ric Flair on the mark, so let's attack him with the Undertaker.
Yeah, the Undertaker just comes out the coffin like from behind, and it was great. And then Macho Man and Roddy Piper coming out making the save with chairs, and Roddy Piper, I'm gonna kill him if he doesn't go away.
Yeah, get him out of here! I'll fucking kill him.
It was awesome to see, because look at your three top baby faces: Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and Roddy Piper. It's fucking awesome. Why wasn't it a Survivor Series match? Roddy, Macho Man, and Hogan against Jake, Taker, and Ric Flair. Why was that? Because we had to pay for it for this Tuesday in Texas.
Exactly. I love the way that they ended this, though. Like, they couldn't tack on enough that Hogan was a Christian, and he had the heart ripped out of him, and he was gripping that crucifix that Taker had ripped off his neck, really kind of hammering home the Catholicism.
Yeah, it was.
You there?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great segment, but the video distortion made it look like Ric Flair was just running around with his cock out.
He might well have been.
Like,
Windmilling whilst holding the two towels.
I just don't know my finger of Japanese pornos, to be honest, on Pornhub.
You keep that in the sanctity of your own shed.
It's wrestle shed during the day. On the night time, it's a completely different shed.
Touch your shed stimulation.
Wow.
So we'll get to the match, the Gravest Challenge. It is The Undertaker challenging for the title exactly 1 year after his debut, so at the previous Survivor Series. So, and the reason he jumped the queue and became number one contender. So during the summer, the two programs at the time was Ultimate Warrior and The Undertaker with their body bag matches. And on one set of shows, on the other set of shows, it was Slaughter against Hogan, and Warrior and Taker was just outdrawing them completely. And I think the original plans was that they was going to keep Taker away from Hogan till WrestleMania, but that got sped up with the signing of Ric Flair. So that's why it's happening tonight. And Taker makes his way to the ring. I do miss the old Undertaker gimmick. And then Hogan comes out and flips over the coffin with the American flags on it and the Hulkamania badges. And that's how it is. So what do you think how the match went?
Hogan had no plan for flipping over that casket.
No.
So he just flipped it, and then he's like, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Can someone pick that up, please?
It's like a teenager when they made a mess of their own room.
It dawns on them that they've got to clean it up.
Yeah.
One of my favourite bits was when Paul Bearer he attacks Hogan when Hogan's went over the apron, and like Paul Bearer's attacking him, and then he kisses the air, and he's like, "Oh!" He had a mini orgasm.
Was that when he turned like right to the camera, and he was like full face?
He did it a couple of times, didn't he? Right into the camera. For me, this match shows that The Undertaker, whilst it's an amazing gimmick, it needed a certain kind of wrestler to make a match work, and Hogan was not that wrestler. He was not the ring general. He didn't have the pace or it didn't work. These were two lumbering idiots trying to have a pretend fight. The match is god awful. I'm glad they stuck it on a Survivor Series, because this would have been a terrible WrestleMania match.
At times it felt like Undertaker was trying to indulge Hogan's autoerotic asphyxiation fetish, because it was just constant choking. Constant.
My favourite bit was you had the guy dressed, cosplaying as Hogan on the front row, and trying to get the crowd going for Hogan and stuff. And then when he sees Ric Flair coming down, he completely marks out and gets his camera out and he's taking pictures of Ric Flair.
He was doing the same thing when Hogan was getting choked. Like, your hero is getting choked on the floor and you're there trying to get a picture of it. Yeah, I hated that guy. What a tosser.
One thing that got me was when I think it was Gorilla said both men of equal stature, and Hogan is visibly several inches shorter. So you can't kayfabe my eyes.
Bobby Heenan was being sarcastic best there because Gorilla was like, "No one will beat the Hulkster," and Heenan's like, "Oh yeah, because he's the immortal Hulk Hogan." He thought in a really dry tone. It was so good. And did you enjoy the part where Undertaker tombstoned Hogan and he just like completely no-sold it?
No, what a wanker! What an absolute wanker! I mean, can you imagine how that goes, like in booking the match? Yeah, brother, hit your big move, and I'm just gonna get right up on it. You'd be like, you absolute twat! Wow.
At that point, you was fearing that the Undertaker would end up becoming like the Earthquake and would be straight down into the mid card straight after, because this is exactly what happened to the likes of King Kong Bundy and like the Earthquake, these big monsters who gets a push to like the main event, and then after feuding with Hogan, they tumbled right down to the mid card. This could have very easily happened to the Undertaker when you actually think about it.
Yeah, the Undertaker said not so long ago that Hogan didn't even want to be tombstoned. And he'd gone to Undertaker before the match, and told him that he was nervous about taking the tombstone because Undertaker was a young guy, and Undertaker said, "No, I'll look after you. I'm completely safe with it," and that. So I don't know if that played into him selling the tombstone or not. Then the second tombstone, Hulk Hogan actually pretended that Undertaker had injured him, and when he went backstage, he was like lying on Vince McMahon's office floor saying, "Oh, I think my neck's gone," and call my wife and family to tell them I'm injured. And
I've heard a rumor that the reason he didn't want to take the tombstone, obviously, it's the impact on the top of his head. He was worried it'd mess his hair up.
in case it brought any follicles back to the surface.
I was going to say though, I thought he'd sold that really well, but obviously he was really trying to sell it to Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he wanted everyone to believe that the Undertaker, this new guy they just put the belt on, had injured Hogan for realsies.
Apparently, that's that when Jerry Lawler tombstoned him in Memphis. He just lay down in the ring and wouldn't move until they got him an ambulance, even though he wasn't injured. And then
with this tombstone onto the chair, if you actually, I mean, I watched it over and over again. He's nowhere near the chair. His head is literally a good 6 inches above the chair. It doesn't make any contact. So for him to say, "Oh, Undertaker has injured me," he's even more of an arsehole than I thought he were. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
So Undertaker confronts him on the Tuesday, the big Tuesday.
And what Tuesday's that?
Big Tuesday in Texas, you know. So he confronts him and tells him exactly that. He says that your head was nowhere near the mat. You can't have been injured. And Hogan said, "No, you held me too tightly, so I couldn't move my head to absorb the shock, and that's what injured me." And then the Undertaker was like, "Well, that's when I found out what a guy Hogan was."
Yeah. But yeah, Ric Flair. For people thinking where the steel chair came from, Ric Flair came down.
What steel chair? What the fuck's that about?
we kind of went past the match here, but never mind. But yes, Ric Flair came down and put the chair in the ring. So, like you said, Taker tombstoned him, and like you said, and when you mentioned it, like Taker was convinced himself that, oh my God, I've nearly broke the neck of the Golden Goose. And when he went back and watched the match himself, he was like really angry with Hogan. And a few years later, Judgment Day, Hogan would try and sabotage Taker again when he decided to not pick himself up for a chokeslam when they was fighting for the Undisputed title. So yeah, best safe to say they're not the best of friends.
You would
but-
absolutely love for a Taker to just go shoot and just kick the living shit out of him, wouldn't you? Like proper lame him with some proper potatoes.
Be awesome.
Imagine how much he must have been shitting himself, though. He thought he'd injured, like you say, the Golden Goose Hogan. He thought he'd injured him in his first title shot. He must have been shitting himself. Yeah.
At least he got Rene Goulet a payday. He was always the guy that came down with that shock of blonde hair and the ridiculous glasses like Dennis Taylor. And
is that who that guy is with the bowl haircut? I have wondered for years who that guy is. Absolutely years.
It's
the Wurzel Gummidge guy.
Double bubble on this show because he's in the package at the start of the show as well. Yeah. So he's getting 2 paydays.
So yeah, everyone, the Undertaker defeats Hulk Hogan, and he becomes the new World Wrestling Federation champion. And he was super young as well. I think he was like 27. So he was quite young, and like within like basically a year after he debuted, defeated the biggest name in wrestling. So great. So we'll see how that pans out this Tuesday in Texas.
Don't you think it felt really underwhelming though?
Being dead in the middle of the card.
Yeah.
Hogan not getting to pause. Yeah, it wasn't like a pay-per-view. It was like a go-on show for maybe an actual pay-per-view on that Tuesday.
Yeah. And this is the part of the show. So this is the halfway point, and obviously we're used to it now. Halfway point of a show, loads of promos, and it's all chaos backstage. And we see Mean Gene, and we see Roddy Piper. He must have been hanging out with Jake. He's all dramatic. They say anything happened in the World Wrestling Federation. Ding dong, ding dong. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Viper?
We've got another Addams Family connection, though. When he called Undertaker an Addams Family reject.
Calls Ric Flair cousin it.
He said that Taker becoming champion was no different than David Duke becoming president. And David Duke was running for Republican nomination, and he was a former member of the American Nazi Party. So having a literal Nazi as president was worse than.
Wow, that's on the nose. Jesus Christ.
Wow. Next we see Sean Mooney, and he's with Ric Flair and Perfect, and awesome promo by Flair, like he's the best. But one of the things what made me laugh, there's only one world champion, Ric Flair, and I'm thinking, well, no, the Undertaker's just become World Wrestling Federation champion here, right?
He had eyes like Maradona at the '94 World Cup as well, didn't
he? Yeah.
He had the cocaine psycho eyes in full force.
Oh, definitely. They definitely had a line or two just before that promo. And the funny thing is, I mean, we'll get to it in a couple of episodes, but at the Royal Rumble, he couldn't wax lyrical enough about the WWF title. It was that proved he is the man. But at this event, he's absolutely shitting on it. So yeah, the two-faced snake.
If you've got the choice of the WWF title or a tag team title with a black dot over it, everyone's going to take the tag team title with a black dot over it, aren't they?
Exactly. It's the lineage.
Next, we see Sean. Next we see IRS and Disasters cut a promo, and then we move over to Sean Mooney with LOD and the Big Boss Man, and they're talking. And my favorite part was Hawk is about to do his catchphrase. Ew, what a Sean Mooney goes, wait, I'm just hearing Mooney. Don't you stop. Ew, what a rush. I would have loved it if he chucked Mooney off stage. He pissed off the wrong man.
He just punched him, just clean knocked him out.
It was when Hawk threatened to reduce the opponents to a pile of socks.
Yeah.
What the spoiled
I didn't even know where he was going with that until he said the socks at the end. It was just what? I mean, he can nail promos sometimes, but other times they're terrible, and that was a terrible one.
Yeah. So during the time all this is happening, Hogan's pitching a flip to Jack Tunney, saying he's been screwed and the Hulkamaniac's ain't happy, brother. But we go back to Gene, and he gets joined by Jack Tunney, and he confirms there will be a rematch at the earliest possible date. And what date do you think that is?
This Tuesday in Texas.
The Royal Rumble.
a lot of people think, wrestling exists in its own world, but this was a crossover with Doctor Who because Jack Tunney had got himself from Stamford, Connecticut, to the Joe Louis Arena. Is that in Chicago? In
Jim Lewis Arena.
Jim Lewis Arena, yeah.
What hockey player he was?
Done that. He was live from the head office, and then he's in the arena. So there's been some kind of time travel, or.
I didn't even register that. One thing I did notice, where he's saying, "And I'll be at ringside to enforce it." What the fuck are you gonna do?
An absolute figurehead means absolutely nothing. I mean, he had no power anyway because he literally said, "I can't reverse the referee's decision," so there wouldn't be no he could do.
No.
But yeah, let's boost Tuesday Night in Texas yet again.
The brilliant thing was, at this point, they hadn't actually announced it was a pay-per-view. They were just selling it as a house show, and they were going, "Oh, we're having a word with the TV company, see if there's any way possible we can bring it to you." So it hadn't even had weeks worth of build. It was like, "Oh, we might do a pay-per-view."
Which is mad because then you think about it, they're saying, "Oh, we don't know if we're going to have TV coverage," and this is the shit they've put on to get people to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm really enjoying this pay-per-view that I've paid about $30 for. I'm definitely paying another $30 in 5 days' time.
To be fair, it was only $12.95 for this Tuesday in Texas.
Well, to be fair, I would have paid for Tuesday in Texas if I got my money back for this one.
Speaking of shit, next out's the Beverly Brothers.
Oh,
and they're
it just gets worse. You think that you've watched a terrible match and it can't get any worse, and then they chuck the fucking Bushwhackers and the Beverly Brothers at you. Brilliant.
At least
I also see the.
I couldn't believe when that promo section started that it was only the middle of the show.
And it took 3 weeks.
We also see the return of the Genius, which is good to see because when me and you, Rob, done our first ever episode, he was my MVP of the night, Rumble 90, with his match with Brutus. So, good to see the Genius back there, tagging along with the Nasty Boys. And they are against the Bushwhackers and the Rockers. First thing I noticed, empty seats.
First thing I noticed, mullet match.
Yeah. This. If your mullet of the match of the event doesn't come out of this match, you are doing life wrong. Because even the Bushwhackers could have pulled off a mullet in this match. It was just everywhere, mullet on mullet on mullet.
Glorious, and first
shed.
And first elimination, Knobs hits a flying clothesline on Luke to eliminate him. And the one thing I did write down, Shawn Michaels looked so bored during this match.
He did, didn't he?
He was on the apron for a big part of this match. So he looked like he wanted to be anywhere. Marty was all up for it. Marty was like, "Come on, Butch, come on, Luke." But Shawn was like, "I am too good to be in this match."
Well, when they finally got in, I think it was the Rockers both got in at the same time, did a double drop kick, and you're right, Marty Jannetty was just there with just a big, massive grin on his face, like he'd been told he's got a new stepdaughter.
And he's got to go meet a bloke behind a bowling alley soon.
Allegedly. Keyword. The Beverly hits their double tag team move on Butch to eliminate him. And Shawn Michaels hits the backslide pin on Bo to eliminate him. And to notice the difference on Bo and Blake, credit to OSW Review. Blake has got the rake on his face, so he's the one with the mustache, and Bo's the clean cut one. So now you know the difference.
Well, tell that to Gorilla. Tell that to Gorilla, because he just kept calling him a Beverly or the Beverly.
Beverly 1 and Beverly 2.
I like to think Gorilla just sat there and thought, they put no effort into booking it. I'm not putting the effort into calling it. Fuck this.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't blame him.
It felt like and I know you said earlier that Flair didn't tag in. I'm sure Flair did tag in, and Gorilla just wasn't paying attention. It's like there seemed to be a lot of times in this pay-per-view where they didn't know what was going on. Probably because Vince McMahon was in their ears going, "This Tuesday in Texas, this Tuesday." Say it again.
Pimp it.
Certainly in this match, the commentators were missing everything.
Well, there wasn't much of this. And Sean next, I just wrote down the code tag to Marty because the fans was just not up for this match. And a point hits where Marty picks up Sags, I believe, and Sags's legs collide with Shawn Michaels. Knobs rose up Shawn Michaels for the pin. And then after this, Marty, him and Marty has a bit of a bust-up, which this has been happening for a few weeks now, the dissension. And eventually Marty gets pinned. And the heels win 3 members to 1 to 0. So, and this is the end of the Rockers on the pay-per-view. So, when going back, like growing up, I remember loving the Rockers. And they call them tag team specialists, even though they never won the tag team title, which I found ironic. I always liked the Rockers, but going back and watching these pay-per-views, I'm thinking they were fucking jobbers. When you think about, like, besides from the odd victory against the Orient Express, 9 times out of 10 they lost on pay-per-view. They lost to Power and Glory at SummerSlam.
Oh, that's law. Yeah, that is law. I mean, how bad would you feel to be Bo Beverly, though, being the only one of his team to be fucking eliminated? What was so good about Blake that he got to survive? That was out of order.
I don't think it was that. I think it was literally they started writing it and they just thought, right, that's the first elimination.
Yeah, we've only got one.
It's nearly lunchtime.
Yeah, we've only got one spot we need to cover. We need to cover Marty and Sean falling out. So you all just do what the fuck you want, and just make sure you do that spot, and then it's on you.
I like to think that was actually it. And they all told Bo, I've already forgotten which Beverly got eliminated. They told whichever one was getting eliminated. They was like, oh yeah, there's only going to be one guy left, and then they just stood there giggling at him for the whole time. Just like.
So,
and Heenan and Gorilla just went their own way. They said Shawn Michaels walked out.
Yeah.
That was the story, and they were sticking to it.
Well, speaking of walking out,
they stopped selling for one moment this Tuesday in Texas and started selling the magazine. So it's like QVC, you know, we've got the deal of the week, but let's just tell you about.
Yeah.
I actually, I did remember when I was watching this that the Macho Man had been on QVC in the 90s, and I wondered if it was for this event. And it was actually for the run up to WrestleMania 10. So when we get to that, we need to watch that as well. But you know, there was more selling in this pay-per-view than that episode of QVC with the Macho Man.
Are you sure it worked for the run up for Tuesday night in Texas?
No, you have to be solely focused on selling Tuesday in Texas. You can't be selling them on toothpicks or whatever he was selling.
And speaking on that magazine, and the big story of it was the Rockers potentially splitting up, and they did. And this is the last time we're going to be seeing Marty Jannetty till Rumble 93, I believe. So a few weeks after this, the infamous barbershop heel turn by Shawn Michaels throwing Jannetty through the window, or as Bobby Heenan called it, he dived out the window. And Marty Jannetty was never to be seen again for another year, while Shawn Michaels became Shawn Michaels. You give us, Marty?
which makes, I know we can't really draw much logic from this show, but Marty had like the best of that match. And at the end had like the really heroic comeback, or almost making it almost like fighting back. So then for him to disappear for 3 years is a bit surprising.
Yeah, but in hindsight, they made the right decision. The bet on the right horse with that one.
Oh yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why they split up. So during this time, or just beforehand, it would have been beforehand. They was doing like a commercial rather for some cereal for a magazine, like a photo shoot, and Rockers are there, and so was a couple of tag teams, and Legion of Doom was there. And Marty asked Legion of Doom how much you getting paid, and I think Legion of Doom got like $25,000 each, something quite high compared to them. And I think Marty said we was getting like $5,000 each, and Marty wasn't happy, so he tried to broker a deal to go to WCW, and he told Sean about the money situation. He's like, I've got a deal with Magnum TA. He said he can get us a good deal, so we'll put our release in. So Sean said in his book, which I don't believe it, his first book is just full of lies. But he said that he never wanted to leave, and which I guess I kind of believe when you think about it, because he never did leave. But when he spoke to Magnum, there was no offer, and Marty's supposed to talk to a friend of Magnum TA, and it was a bullshit deal. So in the end, or during this time as well, Sean got a phone call from Vince McMahon saying, "I'm sorry to hear you go. You're someone who I was hoping to build a company around one day, and if the door's always there open if you want to come back." One thing led to another. They eventually stayed, but Sean, from that point on, was like, "Right, I'll stay, but I don't want to be with Marty no more." And that led towards the heel turn, and the rest they say is history.
So Marty was essentially Jay out of the In-Betweeners.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I've got your trial at West Ham, mate.
Friends.
That cereal company were mugs, because Berserker would have done that ad for about $25.
Cool. So it's the main event, and it's a weird main event, like no Hogan. So it's the Natural Disasters and IRS, and they're against Legion of Doom and Big Boss Man. One of the spots I did enjoy was when Hawk tossed IRS onto the Typhoon. Typhoon caught him, and then Hawk just hit a drop kick on the two of them just to knock them down. But what do you think to this being like the main event? It's weird when you think about it.
Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, it's almost like they were building for another event that maybe were coming up in a week or so's time.
But this was the only match. So one of the two matches that had the baby faces winning. The only other option to send, because they wouldn't have wanted to put on, screwy finish like the first match, or have a heel win to send people home, like just on the day before Thanksgiving. They weren't going to do that. So they booked themselves into a corner whereby they had to put this match on last, or that absolute abomination of the second match.
Yeah.
So there was no winning here. Either you send people home unhappy on a national holiday, or you have this.
Yeah, but
and I still don't know if they made the right decision.
Yeah, but at that time, Legion of Doom were getting the biggest pops of anyone in the company. So if you are going to go the screwy finish with Hogan, you send the crowd home happy with the Legion of Doom standing tall, I suppose. So that kind of made sense. But yeah, the way the card was booked, like you said, they backed themselves into a corner. I did enjoy the subtle face turns of the Natural Disasters when Earthquake were he told Typhoon, "Come on, we're leaving now." He hit you with the briefcase. Come on, we're going, and we started that slow face turn for those guys. But yeah, this was another not good match.
Are you darts fans?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't Typhoon remind you of Andy Fordham?
I knew it was someone he reminded me of, but I couldn't place it.
He's a spitting image.
You're spot on.
Wow. Well, yeah, the match, couple of moments. There was a part where Bossman was stood on IRS's tie, and Heenan Crypt, he's standing on his tongue.
Yeah, finally, I think was it Gorilla brought that up during SummerSlam about why does nobody use the tie against IRS?
Yeah.
And then he didn't even mention it. He didn't even say nothing from Gorilla.
He was getting prepared for Tuesday. Do you not understand the running theme of this show?
Oh, they had that big show in Tennessee, didn't
they? yeah, Thursday night in Tennessee.
Gorilla said that the Bossman was throwing better punches than Evander Holyfield, who 2 weeks earlier had a decisions loss against Riddick Bowe, which was voted the Fight Magazine's match of the year. And Gorilla said the Bossman's better than that.
Shout out to Riddick Bowe, mutual followers on Twitter.
And at the eliminations during the match, so IRS hits the suitcase on the Bossman to eliminate him. Tries the same spot again, but accidentally tries the same spot again on the Hawk, but Hawk dodges it and it hits the Typhoon. They pin Typhoon to eliminate him, and like Max said, him and the Earthquake walks out, and it's down to IRS. And to be fair to him, he puts up a strong showing against the LOD 2-on-1, but the numbers game plays its advantage, and I was a bit sick that they didn't actually go for a Doomsday device. It was like a one-man Doomsday device by Hawk, diving clothesline, 1, 2, 3, and even though it's a topsy-turvy show, which it has been in like the match placement, it's actually quite nice to see Legion of Doom standing tall at the end of the show, and because, like you said, Legion of Doom was so over, and it felt it's very different, especially during this time, Hulkamania years, to actually see a tag team like end the pay-per-view. And am I right to believe that they actually are from Detroit, Michigan, or am I wrong?
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, yeah, my mistake.
Oh, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's America.
That's Hodgin Duggan got the crowd going for him.
Oh yeah, and after that we go to the back and we see Sean Mooney, and he talks about Hulk Hogan. He says that I tried to talk to Hulk, but Hulk Hogan said, "To be honest, Mooney, I want to do my talk in the ring." I thought, fucking hell, that's a first.
He's still pouting because he didn't get to pose.
And then we join Mean Gene before the show signs off, and he's in the catacombs or the bowels of the Joe Louis Arena. And he gets joined by Paul Bearer and Undertaker. And Undertaker said, "Tonight was the end of Hulkamania, but this Wednesday." I wish he said that. He said,
Wednesday, Wisconsin.
It's Monday in Manchester, Alabama.
This is why wrestlers need a union. The Undertaker could have been there with his union rep saying, "No, he's not working Tuesday."
He's booked a half day.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Paul Heyman's promo, One Night Stand, when he's slagging off JBL. JBL, the only reason you're champion because Triple H doesn't like working Tuesdays. It's like the greatest burn in wrestling history. And yeah, speaking of burns, because that's how I felt when I watched the show. The show is officially finished.
What was in the coffin?
A camera.
The soul of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, when Taker's saying, "Gene, look in the coffin," and you're like, if you were you were like, "Get fucked! I know how this works. No way am I looking in that coffin." But yeah, that was some good camera work though. The burial and then the closing of the coffin.
And Paul Bearer is always fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So that's the end of the show. So before we get to the awards, grading the show, I can honestly say so. Me and Rob, we reviewed Rumble 90 to begin the show with about 6 months ago now. I've had some good times watching pay-per-views. I can honestly say this is the worst pay-per-view I've reviewed up to now.
And even that's a compliment.
Yeah, this show was the first match, which we'll get to match the awards later. But first match was okay. Main event, for what it was actually okay. But God, this show was just... I do not recommend anyone watching this show. I said on the last show that I've never actually watched the show. I've watched the Taker Hogan match, but I've never actually watched this pay-per-view. I kind of wish that I
could go back in time to those great days last month when you hadn't watched this show.
I'd rather watch the AWA Team Challenge series than this.
Oh, that's amazing, though, Dan. That's one of the best things ever made.
In the way that really bad movies
without a slight bit of sarcasm in his voice.
It's like The Room, you know, you're quite right. The thing about this pay-per-view, it raises two questions. Firstly, if you'd have paid, in today's money, £32 for Survivor Series,
wow,
would you be paying, in today's money, another £17 for this Tuesday in Texas?
Not when they pimped it halfway through the show and basically was, if you like watching this, please give us more money. You'd be like, get fucked. This wasn't worth the money I paid. Now, you ain't getting another penny out of me. Yeah, this was an awful, awful pay-per-view.
It wasn't even if you like watching this. It's if you want to see the two guys you thought you were paying to see. Like again next Tuesday.
Yeah, this was like if EA, current modern day EA, made a wrestling pay-per-view. You've got like a trailer which, this is going to be great. Then you get the game. It's shit, and they're saying, but we've got all this DLC coming. Pay another X amount. No, fuck off. You've fleeced me. I actually felt ripped off just for having my network subscription that I had to sit through that. Oh, people whinging about, I'm cancelling my network subscription. I was bloody close, and I did that to myself.
The other
clusterfuck of bullshit.
Should tweet that. You should actually tweet that. Say, I've watched Survivor Series 1991, and I actually genuinely want my $9.99 back.
Yeah, people bitch and whinge about Raw and SmackDown and current pay-per-views. Go fuck yourself. Watch Survivor Series 1991. Back in our day, that was the bullshit we put up with.
That's why when I said that, when we were talking about SummerSlam 91 and it was mixed rating, I said, in my opinion, I thought it was a really good show. Now, I think you, Dan, you put it a C+. After watching Survivor Series, what do you think of SummerSlam now?
I miss it so much. I want to retroactively upgrade SummerSlam to an A-star.
August 91 was a golden age for wrestling.
It was compared to November.
The other question though is I'm presuming none of us actually sat down and watched this whole and got distracted and did something else. What else did you do to sort of refresh your palate in the middle of Survivor Series 91 to get through it?
Okay.
I was just sending off emails to wrestlers trying to get more interviews. I'm watching Survivor Series. There's just shit that I'd speak to you.
I watched Kenny Omega versus Naito from the 2018 G1 for another podcast.
I watched Les Kelly versus Leon Harris from 1974.
Oh, that's a masterpiece.
But it's always, if wrestling's shit, I always go to that match just to remind me that wrestling's good, and then I can kind of get through the rest of it.
I got so bored during this match because I was watching it on my laptop, and how shit is the network on browser, by the way? So I'm watching it on a terrible interface anyway, but I had my headphones on because my dad was taking was on a Teams meeting in the front room, and he doesn't have a mic or anything. I actually got so bored I listened in on his meeting, listened to him talk about construction and office refits because it was more entertaining than watching fucking Jim Duggan and fucking Sergeant Slaughter bungle fuck their way through a fucking piece of shit match.
There wasn't even any Valentine. I mean, we've complained about him before, but you'd have killed for him on this show.
I miss him. He's the best stepmom.
So, with that out of the way, we'll get to the fun part of the show, the awards. So, we're spoiled for choice here. Your match of the night.
Is the an actual match? The opener I'd have gone with.
The least offensive match of the night.
Yeah.
I'd go with the opener.
Yeah.
Apart from the end ruined it, but it was still a great match when it was happening.
Yeah. I agree. Next one we go to then, I think that's unanimous, but next time, of course, this is tough. Your moment of the night.
The end.
2 hours, 34 minutes, and 17 seconds when it ended.
not even the end interview with Bear or anything like that. Just when the screen faded to black. That was my moment of the night.
For me, it's probably Jake's promo. Even though it did have a bit of a weird ending with the end and the beginning and the middle and the start and the finish. He was so good on the Mac as a promo. So yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go for when Piper and Flair sort of faced off in that first match. And the only reason that is a good moment of the night is because they'd had a massive rivalry before and they went on and had a massive rivalry since. So maybe it's not fair to give it, but at least it was that kind. And the crowd did know it was important. Yeah.
I'll go with the Undertaker winning the title. It wasn't a good match, and obviously he may lose it again on Tuesday. We don't know, but that's such a big moment. Like you said, he's a young guy. He was 1 year into his WWF career, and he beat Hogan. So
yeah, I have to agree. Like the only problem was it was just overshadowed by the Hogan bollocks, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
and the one thing I forgot to mention as well. So when Hogan's, so to be fair to Hogan, he sold that tombstone. I'll give him credit. But when he was selling that tombstone, and obviously all the officials came out, so it was like a couple of weeks before, where I think it was like an NFL player who actually became paraplegic, like suffering like a broken neck during the game. And while Hogan was selling this, Monsoon on commentary was saying that Hogan's been out to visit this guy, and the irony is he might be paralyzed. I'm like, fucking hell, that's pretty sick to say, making light of a real life situation.
That's Hogan.
Gorilla was only saying what we were all hoping for.
Yeah. So imagine using a real world tragedy to promote a pay-per-view this Tuesday. Texas. Anyway,
with the WWF, surely not.
So I suppose Taker winning the titles the moment night, but next one, MVP of the night. Me personally, I've got to go with Flair. Like, cut a good pro. The best parts of the show wasn't actually on the show. It was actually filmed 2 weeks before and on Superstars. But I suppose seeing the clips of Ric Flair's promos, and he done well in his match, and interfered with a title match, and his promo afterwards. I think he's the only answer. I might be wrong, but for me, it's Ric Flair's the MVP of the night.
Yeah, I'd go with Flair as well. And I mean, obviously he's doing all the classic Flair moves, the pratfall and all that sort of stuff. But one thing about this match, which you hardly ever get, is he hit a move off the top rope. How many times has Ric Flair gone up to that top rope and been thrown off for that spot? But he actually hit one. So that must be the only time.
Cool. And you, Dan, who's your MVP of the night?
Me for getting through it. No, actually, my MVP of the night, I mentioned it before, it was Ted DiBiase in the opening match. I thought it was phenomenal. He was the real workhorse in that match. He slogged his guts out, took almost every move. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out that he actually spent the most time in the ring by a long, long way. I thought that is the one performance that really, really stood out to me.
Cool. And you, Paul?
It's got to be Jake the Snake's nan for that jumper. She did a great job on it. No, it has to be Flair.
Flair.
Definitely Flair.
I'm tempted to go with Jack Tunney for just being in every single promo, like Rob said, he made the trip halfway across the country to make sure he was at the show and at headquarters. But no, it was Flair for me. He was brilliant in the ring. He was corked up to the eyeballs in promos. And then he fucked over Hogan for the title loss. So yeah, win.
Awesome. And we were actually spoilt for choice for this one. It's our favourite award, the Mullet of the Night. So we'll start off with Mr. Paul Tolley. Who's your mullet of the night?
Texas Tornado. I thought he was looking Spaniel-esque.
And you, Rob?
Oh, I'd have to go with Tugboat. I was really gutted to see he didn't make this show because of that beautiful mullet here, voluptuous mullet, but just slightly down in volume was Tugboat. So former WWF champion gets mullet of the night.
And you, Max?
For me, I'm gonna go with Shawn Michaels. Not because it was a particularly outstanding mullet, but because he had the bollocks to shave his sideburns off as well to like really level it out. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Shawn Michaels.
Does Shawn Michaels get a bonus point for how little hair he has now?
He made the most of it while he had it. And you, Dan?
Mine goes to Jake Roberts because he's Jake Roberts.
Cool. I'll probably go for something a little bit different. They made their debut tonight, and similar with the Nasty Boys, there was two of them. Got to go with the Beverly Brothers. Pretty nice like, kind of in between that Hulkamania New Generation era mullet. So looking pretty snazzy. So lads, that's the end of the show. So before we sign off, do you want to tell everyone where they can find your social media and your podcasts? Start with you, Rob.
I'll be appearing at this Tuesday in Texas, so if you want to contact your local cable provider, that'd be superb. It's $12.95 this Tuesday in Texas, and everything that we promised you this week will be there next week.
Awesome. And you, Dan?
This could well be my last appearance on the podcast if I do follow through with cancelling my network subscription. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at DanGriffin21, and I've got nothing else to plug.
Cool. And Paul and Mags from the Badlands, tell everyone about your show.
Go on, Mags.
You go first.
I'll go
Come
first.
on, Paul, you always nail these out.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Raincounter. I'm also record podcasts with 5 Nerds Go. They're at 5 Nerds Go, and of course with my good friend Magsy here. We do the Badlands podcast, looking at a new Mount Rushmore of a particular wrestling category every week, and that's at Badlands Pod and on Chairshot Radio.
Cool. And you, Mags?
I don't have social media. I don't know what you're all talking about. No, you can find me at DAJ Kirkby. I'm usually in some sort of argument with someone or just generally chatting shit about wrestling. I have more podcasts than any human should ever have, so I'm not going to take up all the time rattling through them, but yeah, just come and follow me on Twitter. I'll have links to all the content I'm involved in there. And if you ever want me to kind of pimp stuff, I'll always miss out somebody who I'm involved with, so apologies for that, guys.
Awesome. For everyone who wants to follow me, I'm on Twitter at 90s Wrestling Pod, and you can also find me on Instagram at 90s Wrestling Podcast. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe, and please share. I don't know why you would want to share this episode, but please do so.
We watch this so people don't have to.
Yeah.
If you did enjoy this Survivor series, there's something wrong with you. You need to go and have a hard look at your life.
If they watch this, it saves them an hour at least.
And if you're listening on podcast form, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, please give us a like and a subscribe. And being a little bit braggy, lads, but I looked last night, and we're the 26th most popular podcast in the UK, 6 months in. So I'm above Corey Graves. So fucking yay.
Have that, Corey.
What a flex. What an absolute flex. I am above Corey Graves.
Oh, and I'm above... and I'm above I'm above 83 weeks, Eric Bischoff as well.
Well, you're absolutely killing it, sir. Well done.
Hey, couldn't do it without you. So, thanks for everyone who's watched it, and I suppose next time you'll be seeing us when, everyone?
It's Monday in Michigan.
You'll be joining us to watch this Tuesday in Texas, and the irony, I'll probably be releasing the episode on a Friday.
Release it in Texas on a Tuesday, though. Everywhere else on Friday.
Yeah.
But thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.